Greetings and welcome to the Halloween edition of the Sliders Review. And I'm here today to talk to you about American Horror Story Season 6 Roanoke. So this is the very first American Horror Story season I've ever watched. And I watched it back in 2016 when it came out. And I remember it was a time when I got my very first tablet. And so I had stopped buying cable a long time ago. And so I just didn't care what was on cable. I was down with just basic stuff and watching my DVDs. But then when I got a tablet, I'm just kind of you know what? I can start streaming some stuff now. So, I was exploring the internet, and I was finding all these TV network streaming sites and everything that are supposed to be free. And, I came across this show because I've heard about it. And I'm like, okay, this would be kind of cool to watch, you know what I'm saying? And boy, I was glued to my seat watching this show. It's the only, and I do mean the only season I actually like. After watching this season, a little correction. I like this season until the twist. Once you get to episode 6, it just ruined it for me. I couldn't recover after that. It was just terrible after that. But for the most part, I like the first half of this season. So after watching this show, I decided to go all the way back to the beginning and watch season 1. And I watched the entirety of season 1 and I did not like it. Then I tried to watch season 2. I did not like that. Then I tried to watch whatever season was the witch season. I didn't like that. I tried to watch Cult or Asylum or something like that. I did not like that either. I think it was Asylum. This is just one of those shows I just can't get into. And I love horror and I love anthology. I just can't get behind the writing of this show. There's always something off with this show where just a bunch of random crap just starts happening. And I'm just kind of like, whatever, you know what I'm saying? But one thing I do like about this show is I recognize a good number of stars, whether I've seen them in something or not. So it's that's the one cool thing about it, you know what I'm saying? But other than that, after trying to watch the other seasons, I just gave up. I just couldn't do it no more. And I've never watched a spinoff that lasted for 3 seasons. And I haven't watched any other season since, The Asylum Witch, the first one, and this one. And I refuse to watch any season that has Kim Kardashian in it, which I don't know why Ryan Murphy keeps trying to make her a star. Now he made a law firm show. And I'm like, why? Because she's a lawyer with quotes. You can't see, but I got the air quotes and everything because she's a lawyer and everything now. And apparently, what is that about? How many cases has she really had that she actually won without being a celebrity? You know what I'm saying? And so, what? She couldn't cut it as a lawyer, so now she has a law show. Is that supposed to give her practice or something? That. Seriously, man, I don't get that crap. But when watching this one, I recognize a lot of the stars. Cuban Gooding Jr., Kathy Bates. Trying to think Sarah Paulson. Trying to think of somebody else. Who was that? I know Angela Bassett, but I can't think of the other lady who she was playing, but I've seen her before and other stuff. I think it's Adria Holland or something like that. I've seen her in the 100, and I've seen Sarah Paulson in Desperate Housewives, but she had a small role. But ironically, this is the first time I've ever seen Kathy Bates and Cuba Gooding Jr. In anything. I know who they are. I know they're famous, but I don't watch none of their movies and stuff. And one of the odd things I remember when watching this, I remember thinking to myself, why are there so many movie stars in this thing? Like, this is a TV show. Why aren't they in Hollywood? Hey, when Hollywood's not banging down your door, you gotta do whatever you gotta do. That means come to the small screen. You gotta go to the small screen and everything. So, no shade there. You know what I'm saying? 'Cause Hollywood is a very complicated, like, entity in its own and stuff. And so, like, when watching this, because I didn't know anything about this, I just know it's horror and stuff. And I saw they did kind of like a documentary type thing. I'm like, okay, that's like fantastic. I had just got through watching a show on sci-fi that was just like that. It was about like these haunted houses, and you had like, the reenactment and then the real people doing commentaries. I'm like, all right, fine. That's just recently, just right up my alley and everything. And as I was like watching this season, I was like so hooked. I was like researching it online to see all I can figure out. Because, they kept talking about, oh, this is based on like a true story. Blah, blah. I hate when people say that, because it mostly never is, or sometimes it is, but not exactly what you think. So I was like researching it. I was like, holy crap. So like the nurses, they were based on real nurses that did something very similar. The Roanoke colony people, they really did just up and disappeared all those years ago. See, apparently it was like this. They came to America. John White had to go back to England. And when he came back, he was like all happy, like, oh, wow, y'all put up civilization. But where is everybody? Like, all the supplies and weapons were just like on the ground, and there was no people, and there was no sign of a struggle or battle. So he had no idea what happened to him, and he couldn't really investigate because, like, he had to go back to England. And plus, there was like a flu and stuff like that. And so legend has it, most likely they found like a nice Native American tribe and went to go live with them. That's what some historians think and everything, Because remember, back then it was like, touch and go with like the white settlers and the Native American people and stuff, because they weren't getting along because somebody stole their land. So anyway, and also brought smallpox and, and all kind of other crap. And so, like, that's that little legend. So, when watching the first half of this, I was like, man, like, what's going on? First, it was more a little bit realistic. You got this interracial couple that's like bought a house in North Carolina, of all places, one of the most racist places in all of America. And so, like, they're getting harassed by like, these rednecks and everything, and because they want the home and they're pissed. But then all of a sudden, all this freaky stuff starts to happen. I'm like, oh man, this is getting good. And, so that happened. And then so as I was researching it, they was talking about like, where's the twist? Where's the twist? Like online, like the fans and stuff. And where's Peter Evans or whatever his name is? Because, he's mostly in a lot of those seasons and he was supposed to be in this. So they're like, where's Peter? And where's the twist? And then the twist finally happened in the 6th episode, and it's just kind of like, what the freak nuts? Because reviewers give us like a positive review, but this is one of the lowest rated seasons in the entirety of the franchise. Because Cult and I think Asylum or something like that were like the two lowest, but then here comes this one. Because the majority of people really hate the twist aspect of the second half of the show, and they really hate the finale. The twist, it's interesting, I'll say that, right? Like, I was not expecting that, and it's clever, but it's unneeded. It's kind of like watching something and then all of a sudden it's kind of like a person wakes up and it's like, oh, it's all a dream. Like, it feels like that, you know what I'm saying? Like turning it into kind of like a reality show where, like, the real life quote unquote people who survived this like atrocity and everything. And then the actors who played them, now all of a sudden they're back in the house doing like a reality show, recording everything. And it's just kind of like, what? Like, what? It's just one of those odd things that just don't make no sense. And somebody thought this was clever and everything. And that somebody is an idiot. And they went real meta on that crap. Well, like, not only turning into a reality show, but having like a fandom and vloggers and people going to the house because they want to see where all the action happened, which a lot of people do. And so like, and just then there was like a court trial and they're like, what the heck? And then like a talk show. And I'm just like, where is this going? Like, somebody needs to put a leash on the head writer, showrunner dude, and yank it. Sometimes you gotta yank that thing to put them back in line because they're just going too out there. And that's sadly what happened to this. They just went way too bizarre, like, and Ryan Murphy can create some good stuff. Like, I reviewed his show Popular that came out in the late 90s, early 2000s. That lasted for 2 seasons. I also reviewed Scream Queens, and that was a really good show. I never really watched Glee, only 1 episode, and of course there's this show, but sometimes he has hits or misses, you know what I'm saying? And he should have just stuck that landing. It should have ended after 5 episodes and that's it. And, because the thing is like, all this is make believe. Well, it's up for the nurses. And so, like, when you watch a show and it's in its own universe, you accept whatever you see as like canon to whatever universe that is. But then all of a sudden, when you say, "Oh, it's just a show," and this is the real world, then that really screws you up. That's one of the reasons why, like, the 3rd season of Digimon pisses me off so much, because they did that crap. Everything I knew and loved with the first 2 seasons was just a television show, which I knew because it's a cartoon. But still, I don't want it to be a cartoon within a cartoon. You know what I'm saying? And that's kind of how Power Rangers Ninja Storm was originally. Originally, like, everything that came before Ninja Storm was just like fake fiction or legend. And they were like their original first Power Rangers until they decided to retcon it and make everything canon. And it's just like, people hate when they do that crap. If it doesn't work for one franchise, don't do it for another. You know what I'm saying? And so what's really interesting is like, let me do a name correction. So the lady from the 100, the black actress, is not, okay, so Andre Holland, that's the dude who played Real Matt. But the 100 actress, that is Adina Porter. So my bad. And everything. And I've seen her like in Paper Girls. I've seen her in the 100. She's a really good, strong, and tough actress. She always plays those mean, scary roles, man. And so, okay, so you have like these characters named Shelby and Matt. And so pretend Shelby and Matt are played by Cuba Gooding Jr. and Sarah Paulson. And they're an interracial couple who won a house in the auction in Roanoke, North Carolina. And so they're all happy and excited, this and that. But then there's a group of these rednecks that don't want them there and they want the house and stuff. So they start getting harassed by them. And being an interracial couple, you know how that is. But then all of a sudden, all this weird paranormal freaky stuff starts to happen. They start seeing random people like, in the yard and stuff like that. And they assume it's the rednecks, but they're not dressed like rednecks. They're dressed like colonial people. And so pretty much every night and every day there's something freaky going on or somebody dying that's like real life and stuff. And it's these people that are killing them or kidnapping folks and stuff. And so it's one of those things they just can't explain. And whenever they go to like the police won't do like nothing. So like eventually Lee, who is Matt's sister, shows up with her daughter and stuff. I forget the daughter's name. But like all of a sudden, because like his sister does not like the wife and stuff, right? And the sister has problems of her own, and so she's like, she's going through like a divorce. And I think like she had a daughter named Emily who died. She's like neglectful, and she used to be a cop, and I think she used to be like a drug addict and stuff like that. And so with all that, like, with like the wife and the sister not getting along, then all of a sudden the daughter goes missing. And it's like, holy crap, like, where did the daughter go? Like, and then they finally realize that these colonial looking people are ghosts. And these colonial people are always killing folks, like I said before. And there's always like some weird character that just like pops in and scares the crap out of them. Like the guy who's shirtless and like doesn't have like, or he has like a pig head in there. I think they put like a pig head on him and killed him and burnt him and stuff like that. So when trying to find the little girl and stuff, they go to the redneck's house and they see three young boys, sucking milk from like a pig. It's gross, it's disturbing, and it will freak you out. And so like, the police are finally gonna do something about that, but not like other stuff. And so when it comes to that, the sister leaves, like her ex-husband showing up, takes the daughter, then she ends up kidnapping the daughter, which is not good. At some point in time, Lee's ex-husband ends up dead and murdered in a really like horrifying looking way. So they're trying to figure out, what the heck is like going on. And all of a sudden, like, Matt will see the word murder just appear like out of the wall out of nowhere and stuff, and he'll start seeing visions of like nurses and stuff like that. And they find like this little girl who leads them to like the basement, and they find like a tape, and there's a man who used to live in the house, and like, talking about how there's so many like ghosts and this and that, and he didn't live there that long. So basically it's like this: many years ago, the colonial people came there and they turned on this one lady who's like the mother, who's known as the butcher, and she decided to kill a bunch of people and get revenge. So for whatever reason, there's like this thing called the blood moon where it lasts for a whole week, and this is when all these killings always happen on this land. So before the house was ever built, it was just land. And then there was this guy played by Evan Peters who built like the house around like the 1400s or something like that. Pretty much the butcher always kills people around the blood moon because she feels like it's sacrificing to like the land and this and that. And she's just an off the wall type character, right? So every time there's an owner in the house, they always end up dead, except for the man on the video. There's like an Asian family that got killed. I'd already told you about the dude from like the 1400s. All kinds of people. And if you die on that land, you are stuck there forever in like purgatory and stuff. And so they don't really want to believe this, but what other explanation is there and stuff? So when people start going missing or getting shot up with arrows and everything, they just start freaking out and they want off that land. But they have really no place else to go. But then when the girl goes missing and this and that, they have to stay. So they bring in this one dude played by Leslie Johnson. Oh, may he rest in peace. That's so sad when he died. He seemed like such a nice dude. And so like, he met the butcher and he was able to get the girl back and everything because the girl was ended up playing with the ghost girl named Priscilla. And so like he ended up dying. So things are getting really hectic, you know what I'm saying? And they just want out. And so Shelby ends up calling the police on that of Lee, talking about how she kidnapped, like, her daughter and killed her husband. But she's like, I didn't kill my husband, blah, blah, blah. So she's in jail and doing all that. All heck breaks loose because on the last day of the blood moon, that's when all the killings really start happening. And so while they're trying to do what they're doing, all of a sudden, like Matt, because see, the thing is, Matt and Shelby, they're really nice, humble people, right? They mind their own business and they get along with anybody they can. But, like I said before, Lee and Shelby don't get along and they're not getting along with like their neighbors and like stuff like that, right? So, like, now that they have the girl, they want to leave and stuff, but they can't because now all the ghosts are like literally out there. And even some of the other ghosts who like died as a hand of the butcher and everything are keeping them there. The Asian people, they turn into like people from like The Ring and The Grudge, like, like the little scary Asian ghost girls. Why would they make it that? I don't know. But anyway, so yeah, they're evil for some reason. Like everybody who turns to a ghost for whatever reason just turns evil, but it doesn't really explain why. But like back to like Matt being just a humble, nice guy who loves his wife until he is brainwashed by Lady Gaga's character. She's like really, really ancient and she does like witchcraft and crap like that. And she puts him under a trance and she bangs him. And he literally says he has no recollection of like in the woods naked banging her while everybody's watching. And that of course pisses the wife off. But in order to like, help get the girl back and stuff, they had to make a couple of deals. And one deal is Lady Gaga's character wants Matt because, she's never had like a love of her life before and her life was taken. And she's just in love with him for some bizarre reason. There's a lot of characters in here and they don't get a good backstory. So whatever they give you, just take it. Like the Asian people really have no backstory whatsoever. They're just in the house and then they die. And so like, as they're all trying to like, find ways to escape, the girl and the wife, and I think Matt end up getting kidnapped by like the rednecks and everything. And it turns out the reason why the rednecks, the Polk family, don't take the wrath of like, the butcher and stuff is because they make a deal. Basically, it's kind of like this. If they give them fresh bodies, the butcher people and the colonial people, whatever they call, will leave them alone. And they've been doing that for 200 years, ever since the Great Depression. And then it turns out that the hillbilly redneck people are cannibals because during the Great Depression, they had no food and thought, hey, let's just start eating people. Ew. So they're trying their best to like escape, right? And so Evan Peters' character, who's a nice ghost and the only nice ghost other than Priscilla, helps them escape with like these tunnels, but then they find like the rednecks. So they're constantly trying to fight their way out and this and that. And they have to make it back to the house, but now they have no way out and they're just stuck. And at this point, Matt's just willing to give up until Lee gets out of the jail and she runs over the rednecks, tell them to get in the house, and then they hightail it. And it should have ended after that. After all that craziness they went through and fighting for their lives, it should have ended until you get to that stupid twist. Now, before I get into the twist, one thing I don't understand about the redneck family, if they have to give fresh bodies to the butcher and everything, why did they want the house? Wouldn't it be better if people live in that house and then they trap those people in the house and give them to the butcher and stuff? That just never made no sense. But the twist is one of the most bizarre things I've ever seen. Yes, it's clever, but it was unneeded. And so the twist is the person who made the show, the documentary and everything, loved the ratings so much that he wanted a season 2. So this dude's name is Sydney. He's like the showrunner, and he decides, hey, let's make a reality show. Let's show what happened 3 months after, documentary is shot, and we'll put both the actors and the real life people in the same house. We'll rig a bunch of stuff so the walls were shaking and everything to make the viewers love it more. And he thinks it'll be ratings gold, and they will record everything with video cameras on their phones and also in the house. It's odd, it's strange, and everything that follows is just even more bizarre. So now we get to see all the people interact with each other, and it's really odd. Because it turns out that the butcher is just a crazy woman who literally method acted and believes she is the butcher, to the point where they had to get a restraining order on her and stuff like that. She is literally cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. And when it comes to fake Shelby, she is actually British with a really fake, terrible British accent. And she fell in love with Peter Evans' character. They're 15 years apart. And she's worried that he might not want her because she's too old for him. Oh boy. It turns out people think that she murdered her husband, and they don't believe her. And she lost custody of her daughter. When it comes to fake Lee, Angela Bassett's character, she's just an alcoholic. When it comes to Matt and Shelby, the real ones, they broken up because Matt just doesn't want her no more. And one of the reasons for that is because the real Shelby clickety-clack the fake Matt. And the fake Matt is Cuba Gooding Jr., and he plays a guy named Dominic. So they had an affair, and he wants her back. And it turns out that he only came back because, one, he wants to get with Shelby, and two, he was offered a spinoff. And so I'm trying to think of anybody else. I don't think so. And it's just one of those things that is just a little bit odd. So of course they don't all get along with each other. The two Matts, they end up fighting. The fake Shelby and Peter Evans character, they act like they're lovey-dovey, but he had another movie to go to, and he ends up dying. And all the people who are making the show, like the executives, the writers, the camera people, and the showrunner, they all end up dead by the fake butcher actress. And she just straight up slaughters all of them. But then she meets her demise, I think, by somebody. I think when she tries to kidnap somebody, they end up killing her. Basically, what's really odd is that it's during the week of the Red Moon, but instead of the ghost people killing all these humans, it's actually all the humans in the house killing everybody. So, when Shelby tries to get back with Matt, he don't want her. But then she sees him trying to bang the real Lady Gaga character. And so that pisses her off, and he's all like, this is the only reason why I came back to the house. I'm in love with her. She takes, I think, a crowbar or something and goes all Negan Glenn on her and smashes his head. And I mean smashes it. Then, Shelby, let's see, real Shelby, she couldn't take it, and she stabs herself in the neck after she killed her husband and stuff. So she's gone. So then it's fake Shelby fake Lee and real Lee, they all get kidnapped by like the rednecks and stuff. And the rednecks start eating real Lee, like cutting pieces of her body off, cut her ear off, and stuff like that. She's able to trick one of them and fight her way out, and then they end up, her and the fake Shelby, they end up killing, like, the rednecks and stuff. And so it's just like the humans just killing the humans for some bizarre reason. And it's like, isn't the ghost supposed to do that? But then Lee, the real one, makes a confession that she really did murder her ex-husband because he tried to take the daughter away from them. But how? She's really tiny, he's really big, and the way he died, you would need some muscle to do that. So she confessed everything on a tape. So she literally tells the only survivors, which is fake Lee and fake Shelby, that like, we need this tape and we can't leave because nobody's gonna believe us and we're gonna go to jail and stuff like that. So they try to do that, but there's a couple of rednecks still left, and of course the ghost people. And the ghost people are all outside trying to keep them trapped in the house. So I forget what it is. They assume, real Lee assumes that fake Matt killed the real Matt because he had a knife in his hand and he explained everything that happened. So she kills him. Then all of a sudden, the Lady Gaga character, not Lady Gaga herself, but the real person puts like, Lee under like a spell, and she just starts killing like the rest of the people. She kills fake Lee and everything, and then she stabs like, fake Shelby. But at this point in time, the cops are there, and when they go to help fake Shelby, she grabs the cop gun, tries to kill Lee, and the cops end up shooting her. It's just odd. And it suspends disbelief that all these people go kooky crazy, and start killing one another. I understand they had to kill for survival, but it's almost like the blood moon possessed them. So if that what happened, then you have to stop and think, did all that other supposed real stuff really happen, or was it just the humans killing people and stuff? And so, like, after all that craziness, right, then all of a sudden you have a court trial. These cops really want real Lee to go to prison for all these murders. So they're trying to get her for like all these murders and the husband murder. And she ends up winning the case, even when the daughter testifies against her, because the daughter was in the woods and watched her kill her father with a rock. But you know how the American justice system is, it's crooked. So she got away and everything and was found not guilty. But her daughter doesn't want nothing to do with her. After that, she does like a talk show, and it's Sarah Paulson playing a character she played in a couple of seasons ago. So now Sarah Paulson is playing 3 different characters in one show, which is odd and weird because it's her, it's just she looks a little bit older. But then one of the redneck dudes like comes in with an AK-47 and tries to kill like real Lee and everything. But then all of a sudden, real Lee's daughter ends up going back to the house. So she goes there and everything, and it's the end of the blood moon, and so all the ghosts are out there. And when this happens, one of the things I hate is that when it comes to the real ghosts, you really don't know what their faces look like because they won't show the stars who play them. So that sucks because like who the fake ones are, but you don't know what the real ones look like. And so basically her daughter just wants to live with the ghost child and all these other things. And so of course, in order to do that, you have to die. So all of a sudden, real Lee's like, look, man, I'll take your place. I'll keep Priscilla safe and you can come and visit and then you can burn the house down and blah, blah, blah. So nobody else can turn into a ghost or whatever living in this property. And that's what freaking happens. Like they set a fire. The girl gets out and Lee just sacrifices herself and walks off with Priscilla. And I'm just like, what the heck kind of ending is that? It just went from one bizarre thing to like another. And, this could have been a really good season. I mean, like a really good season. If they just would have stuck to episodes 1 through 5 and everything and skipped 6 through 10. Because 6 through 10 was the most stupidest thing I've ever seen. And after you watch all that good stuff that happened through 1 through 5, then once you see 6 through 10, it just kind of like, I don't know, man. Like those first 5 episodes, no matter how good they were, those last 5 just ruined the entire season for you. And that's what it did for me. It ruined the entire thing for me. Because it's kind of like, what the heck did I watch? And I literally watched absolutely nothing because all the stuff that, that was supposed to happen, I guess I assumed it happened. Or maybe it was the humans really just killing all the humans in the past and everything. And it's one of those things, like I said before, somebody should have tugged on the leash of the showrun, be like, look, hey, you're going a little too far now. Like, come on back. You know what I'm saying? Like, we're losing you and stuff. Because, them last 5 episodes just make me so mad, man. Now, one of the people who was not a fan of this season was the actress herself, Sarah Paulson. And it's not quite clear like why she necessarily didn't like it, but part of the reason she said is because her and Cuba were just coming off of that OJ trial like thing that they did, and she played Marsha Clark. No, not Marsha Clark, Marsha something else. Anyway, the lawyer lady. And so like she said, after coming off of that and being in that headset and, realizing how she wanted her career to go forward, then she comes and do this character and everything. And, she said she loves the show because it's like her home and she's done many seasons, but she should have just like bowed out. Now they gave her the chance to, bow out in season 7, but she stuck on with the show. I think what it was is that, she came from playing this high profile lawyer, and then she comes to this show and she's basically just a wife who screams all the time. And like, not only that, but like, isn't in the clear like headspace. She basically just played a wife who just literally screams and getting chased by people. So I could understand that, because she's kind of like, wow, my career is really like going somewhere after playing this and being nominated. And now I'm just a screaming wife. And then, of course, in the second half, she was reduced to being like a lovesick, like British woman with a bad accent who was like fawning over this guy who's like younger than her. And we all know Sarah Paulson loves being the younger person in a relationship, because like the 3 people that her Wikipedia page says she's ever dated have all been older than her. And so like, and of course she was just like a screaming, running like lunatic in the second half, just scared of like everything. And then she played that Barbara Walters type lady who just gets knocked out by like a redneck. So it's kind of like, I get what she's saying. She went from one prestigious like, character to whatever the heck these 3 characters were in like the 6th season. But like I said before, she came back for the 7th. Now I believe they're in their 12th season, I think. And she's gone. Like she's left. Evan Peters has left, and it was just strange that like she has left American Horror Story, and that's what people best know her from, and don't know if there was any like drama behind the scenes or anything. There are people indicating on Reddit that her and Ryan don't follow each other on like Instagram, but like somebody said like she does, but then somebody said he only follows people he works with. I don't know. The one thing I've realized about stupid Instagram is, how like you go to somebody's page and they'll be like, oh, this person you follow follows this person. it doesn't have the full list. Like you literally have to click, and then when you start scrolling down, you see a whole bunch of more people that you follow that they follow. But then it cuts off at a certain point, and then you still have to scroll past that and everything. So that's not really accurate. So most likely they probably are still friends or something like that, but who knows, you know? But the biggest WT like F like part other than the second half is the whole lead thing in the second half. I mean, Lee, in the first half, like you really think she's just trying to do everything she can to help her brother and get her daughter Flora back, and that's the daughter's name. And but then you realize that she's kooky in the head. She's going around killing people, and like like she killed her ex-husband. And then they do that stupid court trial thing where she just gets acquitted of murdering all these people. And it's just like, what? Then she sacrifices herself to go and protect a little ghost girl only because her daughter wants her to. And I'm just kind of like, who was high when they wrote this? Like, seriously, man. Like, that whole second half, somebody had to have been high. That wasn't that spooky. All right, well, I shall talk to y'all later. Bye.